Hello. We are beginning a series on the I am sayings of Jesus, which are in the New Testament from the Gospel of John. These I am sayings include, I am the bread of life, the light of the world, the door or the gate, the good shepherd, the resurrection and the life, the way, the truth, and the life, the true vine. However, before we get into the I am sayings of Jesus, I want us to look at an interaction between Moses and God from the book of Exodus, where God speaks to Moses through a burning bush and states, And God said to Moses, I am who I am. And he said, Thus you shall say to the children of Israel, I am has sent me to you. We need to look at some of the background to put this statement in context, related to the I am statement. In the beginning of the 3rd chapter of Exodus, we see Moses tending a flock for his father-in-law, Jethro, near Mount Horeb. Mount Horeb is also known by Mount Sinai. Jethro was a priest of Midian. Moses was a Hebrew, but due to circumstances was raised an Egyptian in Pharaoh's household. When Moses was an adult, he killed a fellow Egyptian, which was against the law, and was banished from Egypt. Moses ended up in Midian, in the tent of Jethro, and lived there approximately 40 years as a shepherd. While in Egypt, Moses had heard about the Hebrew God that the Israelites worshipped. The children of Israel believed their God would set them free from the Egyptian slavery and lead the children of Israel to the promised land. We now find Moses, 40 years later, as a shepherd. Moses sees a bush on fire on Mount Horeb, but the bush is not consumed. Many scholars believe this to be a theophany, an appearance of God, or a Christophany, appearance of the pre-incarnate Christ, because the verse says, An angel of the Lord appeared to him in a flame of fire. He goes to the bush, and a voice speaks to Moses from the bush. God introduces himself as the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Remember that Jacob had changed his name to Israel in Genesis. Moses hid his face because he was afraid of looking on God. God instructs Moses to go to Egypt, convince the Pharaoh to set the Israelites free from their slavery, and then for Moses to lead the children of Israel out of Egypt and go to the promised land. Within this encounter, Moses wants to know God's name so he can tell the Israelites when they ask him who sent him. Moses will have an answer to that question. There are so many words to look at in this encounter to discover their meaning, but the intention of this lesson is to look more closely at the I am statement of God, so I will refrain from any word study on each part of the story. Exodus 3:14 is where God states, I am who I am. God is not only telling Moses his name, but revealing to Moses God's personal nature and purpose. Let's look at the word behind I am that I am and the meaning. Scholars say this name for God points to his self-existence and eternality. It denotes I am the one who is, will be. The consonants from the Hebrew word YHWH, combined with the vowels from the divine name Adonai, Master or Lord, gave rise to the name Jehovah in English. Since the name Yahweh was considered so sacred that it should not be pronounced, the Jewish scholars inserted the vowels from Adonai to remind themselves to pronounce it when reading instead of saying Yahweh. I cannot imagine what was going on in the mind of Moses during this encounter. He is talking to a bush that is burning but not consuming the bush. The voice of God instructed him to take off his sandals. The voice of God instructed him to go back to Egypt to rescue the children of Israel out of slavery to freedom, but also make an important journey, impossible journey, to the promised land that was flowing with milk and honey, all by only using a staff that he used for walking and tending sheep and goats as the only weapon or tool to accomplish this task. Also realize that Moses is attributed to writing not only the book of Exodus, but Genesis, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, the Pentateuch. And in his writing, he waits till this point to spring on us the name of God, Yahweh. This is important. The name Yahweh will bring the children of Israel into a personal relationship with their God, but it will take an additional journey of 40 years for them to discover this experience. As we know, there are many other names used for God, or Yahweh, in the Bible: Elohim, El Shaddai, Adonai, as well as Ancient of Days, Father, Abba, and Yahweh. Yahweh is mentioned 6,808 times. Yahweh is also like saying Jehovah, Adonai, which all referred to the lordship of God. God was saying to Moses, I am the God that was with your forefathers and never left them. I was and am with the children of Israel right now, and I will be with you then and with them in the future. Let's get an understanding of Moses and how he is currently perceiving this encounter with God. Moses knew the Egyptian gods, and for the last 40 years, as we've mentioned, he was in Midian, but worshiping the Midian god. The Midianites were descendants of Abraham's second wife, Keturah, and there is a possibility that some form of their worship to their god could have been to the God of Abraham. Another reference states, within the official boundaries of the Egyptian Empire in Palestine and the arid Sinai Peninsula lived diverse groups called the Midianites. These people appeared sometime around the 13th century BC and were known as traders and metalworkers. Less clearly known is their religion, but there is some evidence that they worshipped in tent shrines in the desert. The tabernacle that Moses was commanded to build may be related to the Mennonite practices. Moses' father, Jethro, was a key player because he was a priest of Midian. Moses plays another key role in and through his life. Moses in the New Testament is a type, or has similar pattern of Jesus' life. Both had similar experiences in their infancy. There was an attempt on their lives, and they both had fled to Egypt to escape. Both led their people out of bondage. Both performed miraculous signs. They both fasted for 40 days and nights. They both had mountaintop experiences with God. Moses to receive the 10 Commandments, and Jesus to give the Beatitudes. They both had 12 men they sent on a mission. They both interceded for their people to God. They were both sent to people who rejected them. However, that's where the similarities end. Moses was not able to lead his people into the promised land, but Jesus was able to lead his followers into heaven. This gives us the foundational beginning for the I Ams of Jesus. We will also look to one more I Am that comes in the book of Revelation after we view and cover the 7 I Ams in John. In Revelation chapter 22, verse 13, it states, I am the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. For our lesson today, we need to remember that just like God was before the children of Israel, in their presence each day, in their past, and definitely into their future, as he was and would be with Moses, God through Christ is before us, alongside of us each day, and with us into our future. He is our Yahweh, a personal, loving God. May the Lord bless you.